Hello, everybody, and welcome to Voxel Viewpoint. I guess that's what we're calling it. This is the first time we've done one of these. We're kind of decided to do a series just based on games that we've been playing, kind of deep diving them, really analyzing them. Not really necessarily reviewing, but just talking about our experiences. We enjoyed doing that on the voice cast, and we decided to kind of break it off into its own thing. So the first one we're doing is No Man's Sky, and I'm Ryan Shepard, and with me I've got Lee. How's it going over there, Lee?
Hello. Yeah, it's going well, actually. Yeah, going pretty well. It's a bit late, but it's all good.
Yeah, it's always
about
late.
1 a.m. here, so
yeah,
but it's always late. Yeah.
Well, we'll get you home.
That's very good.
We'll get you home early.
No, don't worry about it. Insomnia is a wonderful thing.
Well, it's probably as dark as space over there right now. Is that?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I like your
pretty much.
segue.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Smooth.
Segues are great when you don't have to mention them. So here we go. No Man's Sky. This is an interesting game. Maybe one of the most interesting games that's come around in quite some time. So we have a little bit of a different history when it comes to approaching this game. When it originally launched, which, by the way, completely by coincidence, 2 years ago today,
Oh, wow.
the game originally launched on August 9th. We didn't plan that. That's just how it worked out. When it first launched, I picked it up actually on PlayStation 4 first, because it was like a staggered release where it launched on PlayStation 4 on a Tuesday and launched on PC on a Friday. And I actually kind of dug it. I kind of knew what I was getting into, which I feel like a lot of people maybe didn't know exactly what that game was when they were picking it up off the shelf, which is understandable because there wasn't a whole lot of coverage, at least like in the window leading up to launch. They kind of, the developer Hello Games kind of went radio silent when they were in the final stretch to get the game out, and it wasn't even a lot of media coverage either. But there was enough for me to know that I knew it was going to be a survival game where you're collecting resources and trying to managing inventory and stuff like that. And I also knew it was going to be exploration, a lot of that, which I think that was pretty clear that you were going to be doing a lot of that in the game. But I think it was the survival thing that not a lot of people knew going in, that it was going to be definitely a resource management survival type game where you're filling meters up, making sure you don't die because you don't have enough oxygen or your suit isn't equipped to handle the planet you're on. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. I liked just flying around and exploring the planets and seeing what I could see. Probably about 30 hours into the game when it first launched, just doing that. And there's definitely there was definitely some rough patches, things that obviously could have been better, to say the least. But by and large, I did enjoy the experience. Now, Lee, what was your jumping on point, and what were your first impressions of the game when you first picked it up before this this next update?
I knew nothing about. I didn't have a dog in the fight, as it were. I didn't know about all of the information coming before it. I didn't, because they had all the groups, didn't they, that knew what it wanted to be and what it should be. So I didn't hear any of that. I just saw it when it landed, and I played it when it landed. So I didn't have any expectation going in.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it. I hated every second of it. It was busy work. It was empty. It felt shonky. I don't know, was it supposed to be classed as an early access game? I don't know. but that's what it felt like. It felt like there was absolutely nothing there.
Yeah.
And I really took against it because the gameplay loop is very it's very limiting, isn't it? It's you just keep yourself ticking over and going and going and going. The flying wasn't great. The management, keeping yourself healthy, wasn't great, and there was nothing really to. You could go into space but not do much with it. I'm like, this is an empty game. And then I kind of got into the things I found out. You know, you listen to Sean Murray jollily talking about all the things that he should have had in it, which made me even more annoyed. Maybe I shouldn't be annoyed, but I think I got swept up with that. I didn't like it, but I think I might have got swept up with the ridiculous overblownness of how awful it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, but maybe I did get swept up in that. When he was jolly, having said that, because I saw him recently because he talked to Inside Xbox and he looked terrified for his life. When he was talking, he looked absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I think I do know what it is, but
I mean, there's there's definitely Sean Murray. We could probably do a whole podcast just on him, but he had his ups and downs. Like usually when he was you could definitely tell that throughout the entire thing he was very much deer in headlights. Like he wasn't really the one that should have been there saying talking about those things, but he ended up being the front man either reluctantly or because he thought he wanted to take it on and really couldn't handle it. But you know, there was always a level of sincerity because of it. Like you almost felt like you were it was a real person talking there as opposed to a PR person or something like that.
Which has played out because you see him now and all the things that he was kind of, you thought this is Molyneux bullshit, has kind of sort of come to fruition. All the things he said he could do, it's like, well, you not only could you not do it, it didn't look you would have been able to do it. Yeah. He's kind of pulled back on. So yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the story of this game is like the way that it launched in the uproar response from both fans and just the gaming community at large. And then the turnaround, like the fact that despite all of that, they still came to the table and were like, you know, even though it didn't come out when we said it was going to come out in the way that we were hoping it was going to come out, we still did it. We didn't. It's not like we just threw our hands up and said, "Nah, screw it, it's over," and abandoned the project. They kept at it, and at this point, by and large, it's kind of what they had been talking about before. There's a whole lot you could get into about what did they actually say versus what people kind of wanted to hear, or either built it up in their mind because there was a lot of ambiguity. There was a lot of that with this game, because like, you know, there was a whole thing about people saying, you know, it didn't launch with multiplayer, but he said there was going to be multiplayer. But you can look at it, there's an article on Game Informer that literally says don't expect multiplayer No Man's Sky. Like it's like so a lot of it for me when this game came out and the backlash against it was very confusing to me, like because it kind of was what I thought it was going to be at launch, and then everything they've added since has almost been like additional stuff that I wasn't expecting, like the base building and being able to like own a frigate, and even like a somewhat cohesive storyline. I really wasn't expecting that at all, based on pre-release coverage of that game. I was just expecting it to be like just a free roam, like you're a space nomad and you're flying around and you're exploring cool things, and there's like some Metroid Prime scanning going on, which I thought was cool. Because I like Metroid Prime and I like the scanning in Metroid Prime, so when I saw that, I was like, a game full of that, more of that, because at least at the time,
quite literally full of that.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, so it was very bizarre around the launch, especially being in the position I was in, and then you coming in and not really having any predispositions to it, but just genuinely not liking what was on offer.
Not at all, no.
But now here we are, 2 years later, with their big what they called No Man's Sky Next update, which was I think the third update that they had actually put out for it.
Yeah, you had Atlas Rises.
Yeah, Atlas Rising. Foundation was one of them, which was I think that was the one where they added base building. The Atlas Rises.
Did you follow those? Did you actually dip in when they did the update?
I jumped in a little bit when the base building one came out, specifically because that was the first big one they put out. And it's not base building, it's even in the version that's out now, it's not what I'm there for. Like it's just not it's I don't want to plant roots, you know? I want to I want to explore, I want to see what's out there. And it's also why I'm also not a huge fan of the freighters either. So I kind of stumbled into a freighter with a dynamic story event that happens, and I thought it was cool. I'm like, oh, nice, I got a freighter now. I can check this out because I hadn't experienced it before. And it just, I don't know, it just turns into more busy work. And it's just not, just not what I'm looking for. I mean, it's nice to have a freighter, a place to put your ship in every system, land it. You can land your ships in there. You can have multiple ships, and stuff like that. But it's just not what I was looking for.
No, I saw that and I was like, I've got enough to deal with already. I knew I could go into them. It doesn't necessarily tell you can go into them. It's part of a mission where you can pop in, but it's not essential that you click in. So it's good that they let you kind of be the wanderer if you want to be.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the freighter if you don't want to. I don't know if you can get rid of your freighter once you have one. I don't know if you can sell it or something.
Shoot it.
Shoot it. I don't know if you can do that to your own freighter. You can't blow up the you have storage containers on the outside of your freighter, and I have blown one of those up before. I don't know if you can blow them all up and then your whole thing blows up or not. I don't know. But yeah, so when you jumped in with the new update, what was your first impression?
I hadn't seen any of the update. I played it the first week. 10 hours and I was done, and that's the last I saw of it. Was it when it first came out? So I've missed it. I didn't even really know there was updates. I sort of kind of knew it was bubbling on the surface. So when it came out on the Xbox, I picked it up on the Xbox, went straight in, and it is, in a way, it's still exactly the same game, because the core of it is that gameplay loop of get the things to power your stuff, to then do more things, and then you shoot the rock to get the ferric dust to power your laser to shoot the rock again, sort of thing. But everything else around it is a big change. It seems like they've improved it graphically. It seems a lot more detailed than it was. You still got the funky monsters. Yeah. Sometimes the funky beasts that are on the planet, they still look a little bit off. Yeah. Yes, the bases by and large are just bolt together to be exactly the same base. And there's that sort of stuff which you can't get around. But the things you can do in them, I like kind of the little bits more lore than I ever saw before. I like conversing more with the creatures. That sort of thing's interesting. The Wing Commander side of it, I quite like. In fact, I almost like that more than I like the planet stuff.
Okay.
And I don't know how much that spreads out. I'm probably about, I reckon, because I did a stupid thing, which I stayed on the planet. I thought I'll be clever, and I'll basically max everything out that I can down here. And it got really fucking boring. I was in the same solar system for about 15 hours. I think even used to me get out of that system. Yeah. Get out the system. So once I started taking off and getting out, that was a lot more interesting to me, kind of the things you can do. I haven't really delved deep into that side of it, because I understand it ends up being stuff like battles and stuff like that, which was never there when I first started it. So I like a lot of that. I like learning the languages and talking, so which I know there was some of that, but there's no impetus to go and find that in the original version. So those sort of things they've added that I do like a lot. I've not dipped into the more of the vehicle stuff. I've still not got a new vehicle. I've still got the same ship I have.
Mm-hmm.
No, so unless I buy one, and I've not got that sort of scratch. I still think the Sentinel thing is aggravating. I wish they kind of ease off on the Sentinel stuff. It's way too harsh.
Yeah, it's strange.
I think,
actually, in my opinion, like I don't think it's necessary at all.
It feels like they're not roaming. It feels like they just kind of zap in.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
I think it would be fine if it was like tied to some like story, like they showed up at certain moments during the story or something like that. But to have them punish you for doing basically what you're supposed to do in the game, which is mine these resources to do basically anything, like take off in your ship or survive on a planet, it just seems a little weird. Like it seems incongruous to like the goals of the game. And then there's certain points where they're so aggressive and you like can't escape them. Like I had a situation where I got like a pretty high wanted level, because that's really what it is, like just like Grand Theft Auto wanted level on a planet, and I was like, I gotta get the hell out of here, because they had like big walkers after me, like ATST walkers from Star Wars. So I just boosted off the planet into space, and I got out there and my wanted level went away down to 1, but ships warp in to attack you when you're in space and you have a wanted level. And they don't stop. There's nowhere to hide in space. Like you can't get away from them at all. You can shoot them, but every time you shoot them, your level just goes back up. So really the only option is to turn around and go back to the planet and see if you can hide from them. But it doesn't really explain that at all. It doesn't say like, it doesn't really explain anything to do with the Sentinels, really, like how you're supposed to handle them, how the game wants you to handle them, and stuff like that. And I think it just leads to a lot of frustration that's just not necessary.
Yeah, I was on a planet. I don't know if it's specific to that planet, but I went down there, and you got the bases you can find that are dotted around the landscape, where there's the there's like the 2 container units you see, and then there's a big base you can sort of walk around with a few tunnels, and you walk through the door and you go and get your bits, then you bugger off and everything's good. Now I went on a planet where most of the doors were locked, and to get them open you had to shoot the doors open with proper ammunition.
Yep.
And as soon as I shot it with more than 2 bullets, they were on me. Not only were they on me, a dog was on me, and that dog has a laser. And it's like, why are you offering me these things if you're not going to let me in them? I didn't understand it at all. There's no other way around it. Because you're there to pick up these resources, and it's not going to let you in, because at the level I was, there's no way I was going to be getting enough power to take the dog out along with everything else. And that's like the second level, the second wanted level. You got the dog with the beam that tracks you like a mother, and it's no.
Yeah,
They need to sort that out.
Those moments. That's another thing they don't really explain. If you break that door down and you get inside, they can't get you. Like they don't follow you in there. I don't know. It's hard to tell if it's a bug or if it's the way that they're programming it, because your wanted level doesn't go away when you get inside the building. They just don't shoot you or follow you inside of it. And then you get in there and there's like a terminal, and there's usually like some sort of number puzzle, which is only like probably 5 different variations of the number puzzle. It's like
720.
Yeah, 7. People seem to keep getting 720, and I've been getting a lot more variation than that, but I have seen the 721. So yeah, you get in there and you solve the puzzle, and you get some sort of high level blueprint or something like that, so you can craft a new thing for your suit or something. But yeah, it's just like a weird, like it feels half done. Those moments, like it feels like
the battle elements. Yeah,
there should be some other dynamic going on there other than just you shoot at the door and then all of a sudden you're surrounded by sentinels.
Mm.
And then like
Yeah.
the other weirdness is once you get in there, they just kind of deactivate, which is also strange. It just feels like like maybe in a few more updates they'll like figure out what they actually like solve what they actually wanted to do in those types of situations and give you make it feel a little bit more organic. But I guess like this, all that goes into like the fact that there's nothing really here that's everything just keeps getting generated over and over again. Like that building will appear on every planet, the same layout, the same this, the same that. So if you can't go to it, if you can't get in there because you're too low level, it's no big deal, because when you're stronger, you're just going to find another one and you'll have another opportunity to get that same blueprint. It's the same with everything. Like one of the annoying things that I still wish they addressed earlier on is the ability to return to a location after you've left it on a planet. So like previously, and there is still in the game, there's a beacon that you can craft that is kind of like a waypoint marker that you can put down, and it's always on your map, so you can go to another planet, come back to the previous planet, and find your spot. It used to be something that you just could put down wherever you wanted, but now you have to, as far as I can tell, you have to find the blueprint and learn how to build them, which isn't something you have from default. And it's frustrating because you'll find a drop pod, right? Which I don't know if you found one of those, but if you repair the drop pod, you get a new backpack slot.
Yeah. That's what I've been searching for. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes I get to a drop pod and I don't have all of the materials I need to repair it, and the materials aren't on planet, so I have to go to another planet to get it, but I'm never going to find that drop pod again if I leave the planet. Like there's no way for me to mark it and come back. There would be if I had these beacons, but I don't have them yet. So there's really nothing I can do. And on one hand, it's a pain in the ass that like if I spend the resources and only half repair it, I can't get those resources back and I'm never going to find the drop pod again. But at the same time, that drop pod isn't unique. Like I can find a million more drop pods and just make sure the next time I do, I have all the resources I need to repair it, because it's always the same resources you need.
Yeah. The copper stuff. Another thing that frustrates, especially because I tend to set a base up around the drop pod, so I know where I'm going back to. So I'll set up a little bitty base. I'll throw a computer down, like the navigation computer. Throw that down. It'll tell me where I'm going every time. And I'll build a little
tiny about like the base computer?
Part. Yeah.
Okay, so you can just you can put as many of those down as you want.
Yeah, if you've got the resources. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it overrides.
They limited you.
I think it overrides the basic, like the hotspot type thing. When you're like off planet, when you can look down to the planet, there'll be the hotspot of like your base is here.
Yeah.
Or your home computer is here. Obviously, if you put a new one down, it'll override the old one, but the old one will still be there. I accidentally put two down in the same place, like a Wally, because I thought it was a different thing. It was an all. Then it opens up to a standee, and it's
they all kind of look the same.
But so that you can do it around like that. So I tend to drop it down there. But it was frustrating me because, like I say, I thought I could just go back and find that, because the thing you need the most is slots, because the inventory system is still fucking awful.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It's extremely limited, especially at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
it doesn't give a.
And
good
even they've got
impression.
a hot bar. That was new, wasn't it? The hot bar thing at the bottom, where you pop that up and it's got all your different elements. That wasn't there before, was it?
I don't know if they added that.
Or
with
they've
the
expanded
base building.
upon it.
Yeah, they probably added that with the base building. But yeah, that hot bar, it's good and bad. It's convenient to have some of those things at your fingertips, but it is pretty annoying. Yeah,
The
so
generation when you're sorry.
I'm just looking at the chat, and Derek is mentioning the economics, and I don't know if he means that he's having a hard time making money. I've heard some people complain about that.
Yeah.
And it's another weird thing where I maybe I accidentally just stumbled into this, but there's a few ways that you can make a whole shitload of money pretty early on. Um, and specifically, I had found these um, ancient ruin locations where you use the terrain tool to um, find these ancient keys, and then you
Yeah.
open up like a big chest in the middle of it, and you get some
Mm.
sort of like old artifact. A lot of them are like, it'll have like a little bit of a lore piece that'll be like, this thing is 500 years old, and it's like an old fragment of a newspaper or something like that, and it'll be worth like 500,000 credits.
Yeah.
Has no other use except to sell it.
Yeah.
Like I've picked up some, like there was one that was like worth 2 million credits.
Oh Christ.
Yeah, and I sold that, and then I was able to buy a better ship.
Yeah.
And I don't know, have you encountered any of those?
I've found the ruins,
Okay.
but I didn't know there's nothing to tell me that you have to dig to find it.
Yeah.
I've been to the crashed sites where they got the
freighters?
ship crashes. Yeah, and you can go and you can dig out the safes. I've done that, but I had no idea. There's no kind of, if it was fleeting. It only does it once.
Okay.
There was no indication that I could dig
Yeah.
to find these relics that you're finding at all.
Yeah.
I found stuff like
the freighters are a good place to get money too. That you can sometimes get a bunch of units there, or some unique technology that you can sell.
yeah. The things I'm finding that I can make money on are the stuff you want to keep to give as gifts to the aliens on the ships. So it's like I can see it's worth a load of money, but I'm not going to keep those because I can offer it as a gift to open up new dialogue trees for the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, everything else is really stingy. I would think that gold that you pick up out in space would be worth more than it is, but it isn't at all.
Gold is actually one of the more valuable things, but it's really not that valuable.
No.
There are a lot of pretty valuable elements. And I don't know, like early on, I think you just kind of run into them by accident. Like you're not going to find a like a system that has a super valuable element in it early on, because I guess the way that the game ramps up is you unlock technology for your ship to be able to enter systems that have different color stars. So like you start, I think the first ones you start in are yellow stars, which I don't know if they actually are yellow, but that's just the what they call them. And then you unlock the ability to go to red stars and then blue stars, and you'll find different types of planets at those kinds of stars. So early on, you're only going to find planets with like copper and like tons of sodium and stuff like that, which are the real basic elements. And then the farther you go along and the more farther you jump in the technology you get, the more valuable the resources are going to be. The game really wants you to keep pushing forward, which is strange and in contrast
sometimes to a detriment.
The base building.
Yeah.
Like I just don't understand why they would have such a big emphasis on base building when the game is clearly keeps pushing you forward. Like wants you to. It's like two games like fighting each other a lot of the time, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely fights against the free roam of it all. It does want you to keep exploring. Be that explorer. Be that explorer. It pushed me out. I hadn't got enough stuff, and it pushed me to the second kind of what would you call it? Solar system. Pushed me to the second solar system, story-wise. And as soon as I got to the second one, it then tried to push me to the third one. And well, if you're trying to, I'll just come back anyway. By the time I hit the third one, I don't know, it was bad luck on the way the game set out. Everything I went to was hospitable. There was a charred planet. There was a corrosive planet. There was one with hot rain. There was one,
Hmm.
and I couldn't collect anything to get back. And I literally dragged my carcass back. It was awful trying to get back. It was
Yeah.
horrible. I don't know if that's the way that game's set out. It's like it's going to be this harsh if you keep going on, guys, or
Yeah.
whether it was just really shitty random generation. But every planet, it was either charcoal planet or it was like noxious gases planet, and it's like every single there was not one hospitable planet on there,
Yeah.
and it was like I to get the hyper fuel to go back a galaxy was awful.
Yeah.
Actually awful getting to, and it's like that's not good. Don't push me into that when I've not built enough of my system, because I hadn't got the stuff to whatever the modules are
Hmm.
to protect you from all those other different things. It's like it's a chore to get them.
Yeah. There's
At the beginning.
definitely planets that are way worse than others. Like any planet that
Mm.
has like hot rainstorms is just going to be a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It seems like, at least for me, they every system has bad planets and at least one okay planet. Like I haven't come across any like good planet yet, but
Yeah.
and like that's something that comes up more frequently as you go to these higher level star systems. Like you'll find like paradise planets, which are peaceful and they have no like negative atmospheric conditions and things like that. And those are the places I think you're supposed to build your bases on. Those are the ones that you're supposed to take advantage of. And I totally get that like you can get a bad roll with a system or even a starting planet, because I've seen a lot of it. I've started on some planets that have been pretty harsh, like just restarting the game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, I guess just get off that planet if it's fucked up as quickly as you can. Sometimes it's a pain because you have to get launch fuel or something like that, but I don't even spend any time on those planets anymore because I know that there's better stuff out there. Like I don't need to spend time on this terraforming catastrophe planet that just has ferrite and a couple of copper deposits. I don't need to waste my time there because there's not going to be anything there. But yeah,
I find it even that's
yeah.
Copper is very important because you turn that into like the high grade,
The
like
metal.
super metal.
Yeah.
There's something really frustrating I was getting within the first system, which is it's logged on the horizon. I'll go there. You do your scan, and you could see the blocks of copper that's supposed to be there, but it's not generated the copper.
Really?
And you're just digging into rock with your tool. I've had that more than once, and I'm pretty sure that's not right.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's kind of the
I've had a few
generation
moments
fucking up.
where I've gone to a deposit and it hasn't been exactly where it had said. Like it said it was over here, and then I take a few steps over to the left or the right, and I found it. I haven't had a situation where it just hasn't been there completely. I've had some of those things that they say are buried underground, like the technology modules, and some of the other things where I've zapped into the ground where they're supposed to be if they weren't there. Which I think is probably something they'll fix, but also a little understandable in a way because they're just generating all of that stuff on the fly anyway. I've heard it compared a lot to the way Minecraft generates its levels, where as you walk in a direction, it'll just constantly keep generating new stuff. Like the planets and the systems, well, maybe the systems, but the surfaces of the planets aren't set until you land there and you start walking around. Like the random things you're going to find, the points of interests, and the even terrain itself, plants and animals and stuff, generate on the fly as you're just walking around. And because of that, there's going to be some weirdness, I guess. I'm sure they'll correct it, but I don't think it's probably not very high on their list right now.
Duh.
As long as it works most of the time, they're probably happy with it. So
another thing I did like as well, that I didn't think I would, It's like, obviously, because they made it multiplayer, they had to create character models
Yeah.
of other ships and they've obviously just thought as an offhand thing, oh, we'll just do a third person mode. It's really strange how having your third person mode makes it feel a lot less desolate and lonely. I found it a lot less of a kind of a morose chore to go through when I could see your character bouncing along. I don't know what it was, but it really kind of makes it a bit more I don't know, tangible. Really weird. I really enjoyed the third person mode. I don't know what it is, because it shouldn't make you feel less lonely, because you're still there with not just a load of monsters on the planet and a load of sentinels, but there's something that gives you a human attachment, that it doesn't make the universe seem quite so empty.
Yeah, I also feel like they do a good job of making it almost feel like a movie too. Like the way everything moves and the way that they frame things.
Yeah.
It feels like a sci-fi movie, like I don't know. I don't really know of any examples like that are coming to mind.
Like a 2001, but
yeah, like
Dayglow.
yeah, right. Like 2001, or like even like Prometheus. It feels like when you land on a planet and you can see like your size in comparison to other things, and it gives you like more of a sense of place.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what does it. So I'm definitely doing third person on foot, but I actually went back to first person in the ship cockpit view, because I found that the ship itself was obscuring a lot of stuff that I was trying to see. Especially when you're doing dogfights and stuff like that. Like, the ship just takes up too much of the space that I wasn't able to line up my shots and stuff like that as easy as I was in first person. So I went to first person in the cockpit, but I'm still third person on foot.
Yeah, it's strange how it just makes the feel of it a lot different. But I don't think they planned that. I think it's just a fluky thing.
I don't know. I honestly think they knew that it was going to be different. Like, I think they knew that it was going to be. I think it's what they were going for all along. They just probably didn't have the animation set for when the game originally launched to have that first person mode. I mean, that third person mode. Like, either
what's really strange about
they didn't either they didn't have it in the budget or anything, or it was just they hadn't had time to work out the kinks. Because they've talked about how they want it to feel like you're in like an old sci-fi movie, or all the sci-fi art from like the 60s, 70s, or even earlier. And you can't really get that without that third person perspective, because that's what all that art is, what I had talked about before, where you feel small next to these huge planets, small next to these huge structures, spaceships, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that third person gives you that perspective. And then, of course, the photo mode, which I think everybody knows I've been enjoying quite a bit. Really,
it's like your travel log.
Yeah, exactly. Really knocks that out of the park. Like, really solidifies that idea of this is like a sci-fi epic that you're on. And you can take pictures of it. You can go to the planet's surface and you could make your character really tiny, really small, with this huge horizon on the in the background, with, you know, a huge giant planet with rings and shit like that. And I, at least in that respect, I think they really nailed the aesthetic.
This is a weird thing. I bought the disc because I'm one of those weird bastards that obsesses over physical stuff. And Atlas Rises is on the disc, which it wasn't on the PS4 disc. The second update's on the disc. Next was a download, a kind of an update, day one update when you put the disc in. I always put things in and turn off the offline, so I know what to get, because I like offline games. There was absolutely no next update. However, they did have the third person code kind of baked into the disc. So they've ripped that portion out of the patch, and they're doing it as like a selling point.
Okay.
I don't know why. So it's like it's already on. That's the only part of the next patch that is already on the disc,
The third person.
and that was strange. Well, I suppose they're imagining it's on the box, it's on the back of the box, it's on the front of the box, it's in the advertising
Yeah.
campaigns that this is it. So if you do play offline, you still have that third person. I just found it weird that they pulled that out of the big patch
And
to
put it on
just
the
stick
disc,
that and bake
but-
it into the disc.
And now that you're playing on Xbox, right?
Yeah, 360.
It's Xbox 360.
Do you think that's
wow.
helped?
Wow.
Well, Xbox One.
Okay.
Sake, you know what I mean. Let me know. Do you think there's been a lot different reception when people have just gone in right now and seen it as is? Because, like I say, I have issues, but it is a better game.
Yeah. I think,
And they're just getting it fresh, and they're like, "Well, what are you moaning about?
I
This is
think
what I'm
so.
seeing. What was the fuss about?"
I think there's an element of that. I think there's an element of people that still are not happy with it. Like, they either ignored it because of what they had heard about it, or they had stayed
Yeah.
in the black on it the whole time.
Mm.
And they're picking it up. And it's, yeah, obviously, like, I think we're here to say that it's not obviously not a perfect game and they need to still work on it.
No.
But
No.
it's certainly
It's
improved.
demonstrably
but
better.
even if you jump in right now, there's enough like quirks and bugs and weirdness around the edges to make it feel like it's still maybe not fully out of the oven yet. And they're updating it like on a weekly basis, sometimes even more than a week. So we're both playing it on Xbox One. You're playing it on an Xbox One S.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How's the performance and everything?
It's okay. You've got the options you have on the X, which is kind of favor performance over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you've got that on there, but you can opt in and out of that.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I've noticed, which I haven't heard a lot of people saying with the X, I'm getting a lot of stutter of the music, a lot of breaks in the music, which I don't think you're getting on the X. I think that sort of thing runs a lot smoother. Because I've watched some X gameplay.
Okay. Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff on the X, and there is like a best like favorite graphics or favorite performance. I have not tried the favorite performance. The default is favorite graphics, and I hadn't changed it. And I will say that the performance has been really good for the most part. It seems like it's a locked frame rate, and it seems like it maintains it pretty well. Obviously, when you're flying into a new planet or something like that, and it's generating all the stuff, it gets a little. There's definitely some slowdown. There's also some weird instances where I'm just flying around in space, and like I boost forward, and maybe it's what you're talking
The jets
about.
go mad.
Yeah.
You get that? What the fuck's that?
What's that? No, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, you do that, and obviously you will get trails of jets come out when you go into your boost.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the physics of that freaks out, and it just kind of does some weird kind of laser thing everywhere.
Well,
it's like that's not coming out my jets.
I wouldn't know. I did play third person flying for a little while, but I played, and now I'm in first person, so I don't see those unless I go into photo mode.
It spaces out of it.
Maybe that is something that's going on. I don't know. But sometimes when I do boost in space or something like that, I will get like stutters and things will cut out, audio will cut out. Maybe that's what you're talking about with the music. So there is an element there that needs to be addressed in terms of that. But for the most part, like I was saying, the frame rate was solid until like literally I was recording this gameplay like an hour before we started playing. Talking here for the podcast, and actually it's probably going to start happening in the video right now. I started getting like incredibly low frame rates. Like it dropped to probably like a steady 20 frames per second, which is extremely noticeable. And what was strange is I was just doing this quest where I needed to collect 250 cobalt, which just like all the buildings and everything and points of interest on the planet, the quests are randomly generated as well, so you'll get the same things over and over again, and there's literally no stakes to them. You could just abandon them whenever you want. if you don't want to do the quest. But I was trying to get this cobalt, and the frame rate just started to tank, and stay bad, until I got the cobalt, went back to my freighter, and turned the mission in. And as soon as I turned the mission in, the frame rate went back to normal, and it was smooth.
Bizarre.
This is the first time I had encountered anything like that. Which is just very strange. I don't know what really the deal was with that.
No reason. Yeah.
No. Let's see. What are we at here? We got about, I'll say, can probably go for another 10 or 15 minutes.
So here's the thing. I'm kind of done with it now. I'm only really kind of, my limit is about 30, 40 hours, and I've done about 30 hours. That's not a detriment to the game. That's just how I consume games. But I'm probably done with it. You're probably going to continue.
I don't know about that. I've thought a few times about stopping. I'm kind of at the limit of what, between small little bugs, like I don't know how many times I've gotten trapped inside my freighter, like warping towards it, and then it doesn't stop me soon enough.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's happened. I posted that one, and it's happened probably like 4 or 5 times since. And you can't get out. It's impossible to get out. You just keep bouncing around the geometry, and you have to load whatever your previous save was. And with the way this game saves, sometimes that's a pain in the ass, because it only saves when you get out of your ship, or if you hit one of those manual save beacons that are on planets and stuff. So that's not very good. That's gotten really annoying. As well as I'm just kind of like, I'm sick of like having to find the resources for some stupid thing. Like, I think it was specifically when I got the freighter, and you get little frigates that you can send out on missions. And sometimes when they're on the missions, they'll get damaged, and they'll come back and you have to repair them. And like the whole process of that, it's like, it's like the most chore. Like everything in this game's kind of a chore, but this is like the most transparent. This is just like a huge time waste. Because you land on the ship first. You can't tell what the damage is until you land on the ship. You land on the frigate, the individual frigate, and you go through this dialogue thing where the captain's like, we got damaged and we need to be repaired. And you're like, okay, show me what you need to be repaired. And then each individual module that needs to be repaired lights up on your radar, on your HUD, and you need to physically go to it, interact with the item to see what you need to repair it. And it's always materials. And usually it's stuff like you don't usually have, like gold or platinum, or like computer parts or something like that. And like you're never just carrying that stuff around, because has no use outside of either trading or this repair thing. And there's no way to know what you need until you go up and interact with that panel. And there'll be like sometimes like up to 5 on each that need to be repaired on each frigate. So then you have to like remember what you need, like not only what elements you need, but like exactly how much you need, because it'll be like you need 20 gold to fix this, and 2 microprocessors to fix this, and like I don't know if I'm supposed to write it down, like pull out a pen and paper and write it down. It was like really, as soon as I did that, I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking do this all the time. And they get damaged on like every other expedition you send them out on. And it was just like a real eye opener for me. That was like, man, this game does have a lot of these kinds of issues. And I've seen the way that the base building kind of ramps up, and that doesn't sound like any fun to me. Like,
No.
needing to get the materials to build the rooms and then find and recruit people to come down and man your stations, and then that's the only way you can unlock certain things.
Yeah. It's kind of trampled over your Space Wanderer game.
It did. It kind of did because
Yeah.
there are things that are locked behind, as far as I can tell, that base building that I want. Like, I'm guessing that's the only way you can get those beacons that I was talking about earlier on to mark locations. Let's see. I don't know that for sure, but I'm suspecting that's probably something you unlock through the base building progression. I can't find anything concrete on that, because if you search anything on like Google about No Man's Sky, like how to get a beacon, you get articles dated back to 2016.
Yeah.
So like,
not helpful.
No, it's not very helpful at all. There's like no. like modern No Man's Sky Next information on how to get all this stuff, which I'm sure will populate eventually, but right now it's kind of a pain.
Oh, it was really my question. Thank you.
What's that?
It's really my question. Thank you very much. Well, what I was going to say is, you know how it started, and you know what they promised, and you know what it's delivered. So moving forward, if you could say, knowing the build you have now, and it's something they haven't said they were going to implement, what would you like to see to make you continue playing it? If they could add something else, if you was to give them like, oh, player feedback, I'd like to see this. This would keep me invested. What would you add?
I think
They're full of adding.
I don't know. I guess maybe like more granularity in what you have to interact with. So like the creative mode is cool, but it's a little bit too easy, in my opinion. Like, there are no sentinels. You don't have to collect any resources. Like, I almost like a light mode, like a light survival, light light sentinels, light threats and things like that. Just like take it down a notch. Like, I can start with a character that has as many backpack slots as possible.
Yeah.
Or a ship that has as many slots as possible. So I don't have to worry about that, but I still want to have to worry about collecting the resources. Or maybe make it easy to get a some way to buy all of the resources. So if there is like one thing I need and I don't want to go to an entire planet just to get it, I can just go to a terminal and be like, "Oh, give me 10 ferrite, because I don't want to fucking mine ferrite anymore."
Oh Jesus! Oh God!
I think something like that would improve my long-term enjoyment of the game, because otherwise I think I'm at my limit with how much I'm going to keep investing in it, unless they put out some sort of big update or some sort of big improvement patch on certain things. I'll check it out, but other than that, I might actually be done. I might actually move on to something else.
You've seen all it needs.
Yeah, what about you? What's your thing that you would like to see?
What you just said, actually, thinking about it, it's kind of none of that busy work. Don't give me. I want an option where it's like, give me the slots. Don't give me a gun that is going to make me excited because it's a B-level gun, and then have me do the busy work to unlock the slots that I can see I already fucking have because I just got the gun. Yeah. Don't make me go and do all that bullshit. Now I've got to find these components. I can't just go and find resources. I've got to go on components, which you very rarely find.
Yeah.
None of that. If you could switch that off, like a vampire mode, where it's like, switch that shit off. Just flip a switch. No combat in vampire or something like that. But do that with that. None of the kind of grind for your inventory. An easy inventory mode, maybe, or a kind of a less grindy inventory mode.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
To tone down the Sentinel stuff. do a patch to tone down the Sentinel and stuff. It's not fun
Yeah.
because you can really end up in a skirmish when you don't intend to.
Yeah, or give
And
more
there's no
options
getting
to
out.
deal with them. Like figure
Yeah.
out some other way to, like seriously, going in that space thing was one of the worst moments in my game because I didn't really know what to do. There was like no clear way to say, the game wasn't clear to say like how to deal with these sentinels in space. And I was like trying to get to another planet. I kept like zooming toward another planet, and I got like way far out there. And so I mean, I guess one of the things that I forgot to mention was when those sentinels are after you in space, they disable your pulse drive, you know, the thing that goes like super fast from planet to planet. So like the only thing you had to do was boost to another planet, and you know, this it's a realistic amount of space between planet to planet. And if you're not going at that warp speed, you're taking forever to get there, like days, literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely I could get behind a better Sentinel system, like figuring
Tighten up that combat system on the planet. You know, you've kind of sorted out. You know, the space combat's pretty good. It's pretty kind of tight. It's it's targeting pretty solid. It's not built for combat on the planet, so don't, sort out your combat system. The combat is terrible, and you have to actually engage.
Yeah,
it's no good. It's like it's day one combat. It's really not good. Kind of day one build combat. It's not great at all. They need to really kind of refine that. If you're going to have the guns with those elements in it, sort that out.
Yeah, I've had quite a. Derek asks, "Have you guys have a lot of space combat?" Yeah, I've had quite a bit of space combat.
It's random encounters, isn't it? Really. It's just
kinda.
you'll see if you sit there and farm too much, they'll get a bit pissed off that you're taking all the resources they could get, and they come and zoom in with about 3 or 4 at a time.
They'll also scan you if you have like valuable things on your ship in your inventory. Like pirates will show up and they'll try to take you down. Or I had a lot of randomly generated like, hey, there's a guy with a bounty on his head flying over here. So if you go, you go and you take him out. So that's like optional though. Like you don't have to go and do that. You go take him out, you get a bunch of credits or something like that, which is pretty cool. I think by and large, I think the space combat is pretty good. It takes a little bit to get used to because it is a little floaty and not really precise, but I think it's
very
supposed to be like that. Yeah. You don't feel like you're in a dogfight. You feel like you're kind of like a semi-mobile turret sitting in the middle of space, and you're just kind of like aiming your ship.
There's no drift, is there? Kind of when you stop dead.
Yeah, there's no like drift there's no button that you hit that's just like constant momentum. You're either accelerating or you're decelerating or you're stopped. You're not like it's not like set your engines to like 50% and it'll just keep flying you around or something like that.
It's very Wing Commander light, I think. The combat sort of thing. You never played Wing Commander?
No.
If you like that, you should have a look at some. I think you'd probably like them if you like that element of it.
I was actually going to spend $15,000 on Star Citizen.
Why?
I heard it was like Wing Commander.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just adding more of the kind of notes to the better cash that Chris Roberts sleeps with models on. Yeah, don't do that.
You convinced me. I already changed my mind. There was one thing I wanted to mention, which is kind of definitely a personal thing, was as I was playing this game, I was also playing Stellaris, which is like a 4X space real-time strategy game. If you like those kinds of games, it's probably one of the better ones out there. And it's interesting how they're almost how these games are similar, because in No Man's Sky you're jumping from system to system, you're exploring planets, you're scanning them, you're exploiting them for resources, and things like that, and you find weird anomalies and just interesting stuff going on in space. And Stellaris is very much the same thing, except just on a much bigger macro level. You're sending ships into systems, you're scanning all of the planets, you're building mining structures to mine the resources from the planets, and you're also finding weird anomalies out there that you're researching and investigating and stuff like that. You're also coming across other alien races and stuff like that. So it was just a weird comparison, like two games you would think were completely different, because from the pitch, completely different. Survival action game, exploration with No Man's Sky, real-time 4X strategy game. Two completely different games, but a lot of parallels in that respect. Yeah, it's almost like they could be the same game. Like, I wish in Stellaris I could take a ship down to one of the planets and explore it like I can in No Man's Sky, and then take off and then go back to my big picture, looking at all the systems I own and the galaxy at large and stuff like that.
Yeah. And what's that on? I've
PC.
not heard of it.
That's just PC.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very micromanagey real-time strategy game. So it could work on console. I've seen some of these things, some games recently that I never thought would work on console, but there's a lot of like I said, micromanagement kind of stuff. So once you start to get into that, the controller inputs get a little wonky, a little cumbersome.
Is it taken off on PC, or is it still?
Yeah, no, it's one of the popular, one of the more popular in the genre.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, because a lot of those kinds of space strategy games, they come out like indie games and stuff like that, and a lot of them are real trash. Like, it's a lot like, imagine like Civilization in space kind of deal, and everyone's kind of chases it and nobody can really nail it. But this is Paradox, which they make the Europa Universalis games, and I think they might have done the original Masters of Orion, which was kind of like the first one of these games that came out a long time ago. So they know what they're doing in terms of how to make with those games. Yeah. So that's my little side story. I guess we got one more question from Derek here. Do you name your discoveries on planets and stuff, or do you just upload them as normal?
No, you can't, but it's listed as you found them.
Okay.
Isn't it? It's like found by you at this certain point, but that's only valid to you, I think. Or maybe I don't know if it changes with people on your
so there's two
friends
things.
List, or?
You discover it, but then you got to go into the discoveries menu and upload. Have you been doing that?
Oh, fuck no.
Oh, okay.
Been too busy finding ferrite.
Right. Well, you get nanite clusters for doing that, which is one of the So you get you get the credits for when you first scan it, and then if you go into the menu, to the discoveries menu, all you got to do is hit X a bunch of times and it uploads them. You get nanite clusters. So
well, that was made clear.
You should, yeah, right. You might have a whole bunch of nanite clusters coming your way.
I'll do that if I ever play it again.
But no, I don't name my things. I don't name my planets or anything like that. I just go with the names that they're randomly generated, because they're going to be way better than like what I'm going to come up with, which is like dumb rolling idiot, or hey, it looks like a dick.
Yeah.
Like, or that first planet I landed on, it looked like Cthulhu's penises just all over the place.
Stop it.
Yeah. No.
Exciting.
Yeah, it was very exciting.
So, would you recommend it? in its current form? Is
Yeah.
it now a recommendation where you? I mean, even like taking the your own personal thing out, and you know how people could go for or against it. Do you still recommend it?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's
Mm.
as long as you know that you're getting a survival game. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
just don't like those kinds of games. So if you don't like
Mm.
survival games, you don't like inventory management, don't get this game because that's what it is. But
Mm.
I think there's enough interesting stuff and enough that separates it from other games in the genre in the field to make it interesting. And it's hard
Mm.
to say that like I can say with confidence that they're going to keep updating it. They're going to keep adding features. It's going to be a
Yeah.
better game. Um,
Mm.
and you can get like you can get it on PlayStation for like $10. You can
Yeah.
buy a used disc for like $10, and um, I actually want to buy one of those because I want to be able to put that game in like say like 5 years, right? And
Mm.
put it in my PlayStation unupdated and see what that very first version is and compare
Yeah.
it to what it is now.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
as like a cool little time capsule kind of thing to be like, here's what this game was, and 5 years later, is it even recognizable?
Mm.
Um,
Well, I know you did that to yourself recently, and even now you found it like a complete contrast, didn't you? Oh
yeah,
no,
I
it wasn't
mean,
you. Somebody I know did that.
oh,
They
okay,
looked at it from then to now. Even between then and now, it's like completely different. So
oh,
don't know
okay,
what it'd be like in 5 years.
yeah,
But no idea what it's like in 5 years.
yeah. I mean, like the basic stuff is still exactly the same, like the
Mm.
inventory and the resources, and not a whole lot of there has changed. They've changed like the way you progress with it a little bit. Like the
Mm.
refiner is something new that I think they added in this update, which
Mm.
I think they could probably have not added and it would have been fine. Um,
Mm.
Probably better, but anyway, the basic framework is the same. It's just like
Yeah.
more around the edges and
Mm.
fleshing out a lot of the systems that um,
Mm.
they improved upon, and of course things that were
Yeah.
completely different, like freighters and base building and vehicles and stuff like that, completely new. Like were not at all in in the original version.
Mm.
And we didn't
Yeah.
even talk about multiplayer, but I don't think either of us have played the multiplayer.
No. No. Um. No, not at all. I
Yeah.
don't even know how that started. We was going to at one point, but it just
It
didn't pan out, did it? Really?
it just doesn't feel like that kind of game. Like
No.
I'm sure people will have a lot of fun um, when they do it, but for me, it just doesn't. It's not that I it would be super annoying to have to wait for somebody to like. I just want to go explore, do whatever I want, whenever I want. I don't want to have to
Mm.
worry about like, okay, you ready to leave? Ready to go?
Yeah.
Or are you still
The way the
are you
game
still
is set
sitting there
up,
playing it?
if you want to leave and you want to get your resources, there's no saying there's going to be kind of anywhere near the same place. So you've got to
Right.
separate just to fucking leave a planet.
Yeah.
You got to go and get your own resources before you can even fuel yourself to go up. Fuck all that.
Yeah, and there isn't like
I'd
any
rather play on my own.
benefit in my mind to co-op
No.
either. Like you're not getting more, or it's not unlocking more missions, like co-op only missions or something like that. So I don't know. It just doesn't really seem like that kind of game. And even the videos I've seen of people playing No Man's Sky
Mm.
co-op,
Yeah.
I've just been like, meh, that's not. Nah.
It's just a carryover from that original wish list, isn't it? That they kind of made good on. Whether it's kind of that you asked for it at the beginning, here
Yeah.
it is, and it seems like not that many people biting for it. I suppose.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things that like. Again, the idea of it was probably way grander and way more cool than like any type of implementation of it. Like you'd have to make, in order for something like this, something like that to be super interesting, it would have to be like a pretty robust MMO, where there's like big long quest lines and huge like raids and things like that. Otherwise, it just feels like you're hopping into someone's game for a hot minute and maybe harassing their base or something like that, and then taking off, because there doesn't really seem to be any benefit to doing the multiplayer.
No. No.
Yeah, Derek says you can still explore independently. It's like, yeah, I know that, but why would you jump into a game with somebody if you're just gonna go off and explore by yourself? You can just you can just, if you want to, you can just hop in a party chat and talk if that's what you really wanted, if that's the experience you want. You don't necessarily have to be living in the same universe, if like in the same instance of the game, if like I'm gonna be in a completely different solar system than you, and shit like that. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
What you're really doing is splitting your resources by 4 or whatever.
Right.
That's all you're really doing. It's like giving yourself more busy work by all exploring the same rough area.
Right. Everybody's mining. Let's have a big ferrite mining party. Just mine ferrite 24/7.
Steady on.
Yeah. All right. I think we're wrapping up here. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No. Give Sam Murray a break. He looks like a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
That's about it.
He seems like a nice
guy. He looks like like one of those kind of default kind of chihuahua type things. He's shaking like a leaf when I see him recently. He's not giving him death threats. He's giving him multiplayer.
Huge eyes, just like,
help me, get me out of here.
Yeah, I think it's turned around a lot here. Like with this update, I don't think he's getting as many death threats.
At least 40% less death threats, which is nice from the 100%.
Yeah.
Nice. Give him a break. He's trying his best. Unfortunately, he's going to be kind of judged by this, whatever he does now. It doesn't matter how much he advances this, how much he improves it.
Yeah.
He'll always be the No Man's Sky guy.
With a certain part of the community that he probably doesn't want to engage with anyway. So, I think by and large the narrative was turned around pretty huge with this update. And I think the overall feeling of what No Man's Sky is changed, and there will obviously be the people that are like, oh, is he No Man's Lie, and it's like those aren't the people that are actually going to be playing the game or actually care. They're just there to be dummies, honestly. Yeah, that's all it is, and there'll always be those people. No matter what the game, no matter what comes out, people wanting to rain on your parade, so to speak.
Don't be toxic for 5 minutes. It's not hard.
It's not. It really isn't.
Unless it's me, in which case it's really funny.
Right. Yeah. Unless I'm doing it, in which case all the jokes are good, and the memes. I've never made a bad meme.
I made a meme. I made a Sean Murray meme.
Oh yeah,
it was Scooby Doo and the Scooby Gang are pulling off Sean Murray's head, and it's Peter Molyneux underneath the mask.
Oh, okay, I get it.
It was him all along.
It was him all along.
That was fun.
Yeah,
that took me about 10 minutes and about 5 minutes of laughing.
Okay.
I was one of those people.
That's a good ratio. 10 to 5.
Yeah. 10 minutes to make, 5 minutes of humour. We could respect.
I guess I'll be worried if they ever add hand-holding to the No Man's Sky co-op. As soon as they do that, I'm going to be like, okay, they're the same person. Sean Murray gets out there and he's like, it's really going to be a crazy experience when you can just hold hands with your co-op partner.
Well, it's when you're not farming for resources when you can plant the acorn and watch the tree grow.
Right, and then
that's when you're full Molyneux.
Yeah, 500,000 units later.
Yeah, you grow a tree. What about the game, Peter?
Units, because units is used twice here. It's used for distance. It's just units, and it's also used for your currency, which is units. So I guess distance
Well,
is
and you,
money.
you magnificent bastard.
All right. Tyrell Corporation, huh?
Oh yes,
That's
building
pretty
better worlds.
that's pretty appropriate. Are they?
Mm.
I guess that's one thing this game's missing is like some sort of Android or something like that.
Mm. It's missing. Tell you what it is missing. In all seriousness, it's missing a kind of an overarching thing of Wayland Yutani. It's missing
Yeah,
somebody
like a
that's trying to
space
take all that
corporation,
stuff from you.
like
Yeah.
an evil space corporation. Yeah, that's what
Stop
it's missing.
taking my resources. Stop taking my freighters. That sort of thing.
Yeah, like
Mm,
yeah,
do
like
that.
Wayland Yutani guy shows up and is like, "I'll give you this much money for your space freighter."
Yeah.
Actually,
It's Paul Reiser.
I'd probably be like, "Absolutely," because I don't want my fucking
Yeah.
space freighter.
I landed on it by accident. Now I'm farming
Yeah.
like fuck.
You deal with this. You take this burden off me because I don't want to deal with it. All right, I guess we're gonna wrap it
Okay.
up. Thanks everybody. Thanks Derek for being in the chat. Looks like he's enjoying the game as much as we are, which is good.
Oh,
Um,
excellent.
and I hope anyone else in there is also enjoying it and enjoying our conversation here. If you do, let us know. And we're looking to continue this series where we just kind of deep dive games. I think the next one may be We Happy Few if we all dive into that and we start digging it. And there'll be a lot coming up with the big fall and winter games coming out. The calendar will be a lot more populated with releases. So we should get a good variety of people on the casts and things like that.
Oh.
But until then, it's back to space with us, I guess. All right, see you everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.